evening, ladies and gentlemen. So it's great to see all of you here today. So it's not too long since we last met. A big shout out to our Singapore family. Okay, last Thursday, I think we had a really great kickstart of this whole gut series. All right, and we have introduced this concept to the people, and we had a really great event. Okay, and it's really exciting to see how people are being really hyped and being very eager to know more about gut health. And indeed, that gut is a very interesting aspect. Okay, and even I myself, as I read, I'm amazed by it. Okay, because it's quite amazing. Okay, how fast things have changed and what seems to be such an unimportant aspect of health has evolved to be one of the most important, if not one of the most complex and intricate organ in the body. All right. So, we want to bring the same energy, okay, to everyone who's on this call. All right. First of all, of course, thank you for sacrificing your dinner, all right, to attend today's event. We'll be, of course, recapping some of the things you have learned if you have attended our Singapore session. But don't worry, we'll also be talking about some new concepts as well. All right. So just to keep you fresh on this topic. So just to give everyone an introduction about how quickly has this evolved. In the past 2 years alone, in the scientific landscape, there's about 30,000 journals, new journal that discover about the gut, right? 30,000, on this in the past 2 years. And this has basically translate to a lot of interest, and there's also a lot of advancement and technology, new discovery about how you can identify a person's personality, apparently your behavior, and even your disposition to certain diseases. Now, they say it's not just only your DNA, you can also trace to your microbiome landscape. Okay, so there's a lot of things right now, and I think that it's going to take a while for us to fully unpack, okay, the full potential of gut health. All right, and you can even know about the person's personality. Okay, this is the one thing that maybe in the future we can talk about simply by just reading into their microbiome. So very soon, a person's microbiome is going to like their DNA fingerprint. Okay, because they can also see that everybody's gut is actually very different one. Okay, it's as unique as our fingerprint. So through that, you'll be able to identify many things about a person's health that could be very beneficial for all. All right, so I don't get carried away. All right, let's start with this analogy. Okay, so how do you understand about gut? Okay, because the gut is it's a very dynamic ecosystem in our body. And sometimes we find it very difficult to explain it to other people. Right? So okay, what is the gut and what is inside? Oh, it's basically just a lot of bacteria and this and that and full stop. Okay? But you just imagine like a garden. All right. If a garden, what makes it beautiful is that you have many different kind of plants, right? Okay. And number two is that garden takes you need to take care of it. All right. And plants, as you know, are very sensitive to changes in the environment. For example, if it's too hot or if it's too cold, if you don't give enough water, or if there's heat, or if you put too much fertilizer, okay, and all these things will contribute to a change in your plants. So for those who are really into gardening, you would understand what I'm saying, right? And you have to supervise it every other day. You have to take good care of it because it changes very fast. Okay, and if you don't take care of it, if you go to a holiday somewhere, for example, go for 1 week holiday. If you don't have anyone to take care of your garden, very soon you become like this, right? That the flora and fauna in your in your garden will very likely deplete and become something else. So this is like me. Okay, I am not a green finger, so I think if I plant it will become like that. So there are some similarities to our garden and our gut in the sense that it also changes very fast and it's very sensitive to uh, environment and many stimulus around us. But the only difference is that your plants won't die so fast. Okay, it takes about maybe like 5 days or a week. But your gut changes a lot faster than that. Okay, so what happens? Okay, it says that as soon as you are stressed, or if you have a day that you don't have enough sleep, or the food that you eat, for that matter of fact, it changes your gut already. So it can happen as soon as 1 hour, and the whole thing can change. Your whole microbiome can change in a matter of 24 hours to 48 hours. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to say. How fast does our microbiome change? So stress, okay, in 1 to 2 hours, okay, your gut then will start to change. All right, your gut motility. Either you will have constipation or you will have diarrhea. So it's either one of those things. Your immune system and your microbiome activity will start to change within that 1 to 2 hours. Okay, that's why stress or like strong emotions can sometimes be very damaging for our gut. Okay, especially chronic stress. Lack of sleep, right? Which I'm also guilty of it, to be frank. Uh, you will change your microbiome within a day. Okay, and what other things will happen is that there will be some shift in your hormonal balance, inflammation, and your microbiome gene expression. So, not having enough sleep for one day can exhibit this kind of change. Your diet, what we eat just now, will have impact as fast as for 24 to 48 hours. Microbiome diversity and abundance, meaning to say that it will become more or less, it will all be influenced at that time. So what you eat matters as well. Okay, and this is the one I'll talk about, antibiotics. All right. Within the hour, you take antibiotics. Within the hour to one day, there will be a sharp drop in bacterial diversity, abundance. That's the scary part. Some species may never recover. Right? So the impact of antibiotics is actually very deep to our gut. Of course, we do understand that there are situations if you have an infection, okay, there's no choice, you have to take it, then you have to take it. So in infection time, all the more you have to give antibiotics because some species may never recover really. And once they wipe out, it's actually damage to the gut. Right? So things like medication, I think antibiotics in particular is very damaging. Of course, things like metformin and cholesterol drug, I mean, they're still in study to see how it changes the gut. There's some shift, but it's not as bad as antibiotics. Okay, so this is one thing that you should take note of. Okay, so what is the impact? So this is what I'm trying to say, right? That the gut used to just be about digestion, and now it has expanded to so many different parts of the body, and it's virtually every single body organ is reliant on the gut in some way or another. Okay, your brain, even your heart, your bone, your muscle, everything has a correlation with your gut. So we need to know more about the gut, right? What other properties that we should learn more about this fascinating organ? So it's the human intestine of around 100 trillion bacteria, almost 10 times more cells than the human body. So our gut itself is like a whole civilization, really. So much more than our human body. So out of this, 35,000 species were identified and many yet to be discovered. So there's still a lot of species they're still trying to identify what is it. And it is also the body's largest digestive and immune organ. So it's not just the lymphatic system or the spleen, but actually our gut is the largest digestive and immune organ. 70% of your immune cells live in or around the gut. 90 to 95% is the serotonin. Okay, the feel-good hormone is made in the gut, and the gut produces 30 plus hormones related to metabolic health. 30 plus, Okay, so GLP-1 is just one of them. There's still many other all these kind of hormones, peptides that also produced by our gut. Okay, so all these things are recently being discovered. So how does the gut relate to metabolic health? Okay, so this is the key thing here. Okay, I'm sure you want to see, okay, Claudia, I know about all this, you talk about how important it is, but really, how far does it connect with our metabolic health? How real and tangible is its correlation with our gut? All right, so I hope to share you this. Okay, I know I've shared this before, but I think it's so impactful that we should all have a bit of a revision about this topic. Okay, so traditional view, we all know this, right? You eat something, it will trigger the pancreas will release insulin, and this is how sometimes, diabetes and insulin resistance will happen if there's something wrong here. Okay, but new findings are suggesting a very different perspective. Okay, so there's this thing called the first phase right now, okay, there's not just one way, but there's two ways to go about it. So one is the first phase, which is what you eat, you'll release insulin. All right. Then after you eat, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't just end like that. Okay. Once your food goes into your gut, that's where your GLP-1 will come into the picture. Okay, so if the more GLP-1 you have, this is when it will take its effect. Your GLP-1 will start to manifest its role. So what it does here is that it will feedback. Okay, it will like have a communication with your pancreas to say, hey, I think if there's enough insulin in the body already, you can stop, don't release so much. So this feedback is really important because if there's no feedback to your pancreas don't know what's happening, So it will keep releasing a lot of insulin. At the end of the day, you have too much insulin in the body. Okay, so this is where the problem happens. So once it has this walkie-talkie situation going on, all right, it will influence your second release of insulin. So if the more GLP-1 you have, is able to feedback so that your body don't produce so much of it. So this is what we call the post-meal insulin level. Okay, and we all know about this, right? Insulin after food. So this is what it really means. After you eat, you digest. After GLP-1 takes its action, this is your final insulin. Okay, after you eat. So the gut accounts for 50 to 70% of this post-meal insulin level. So this is a big influential factor. Okay, and it's good and it's also bad. The good thing is that you have a lot more control, okay, over what you eat. But the bad thing is that you have to take even better care of it. Okay, because our gut seems like it's even more influential than the pancreas in this case. Okay? Now, the first phase of insulin, okay, this is in graph version, okay, if you want to have a better understanding. So first phase happens very fast. This is what we call the insulin spike, right? So after you eat, of course, your insulin you have to release. Okay, you must try to reduce your insulin as much as possible. Usually within 5 to 10 minutes. Okay? This is when your second phase will happen, which is 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, so this is where it will level down and it will become the post-meal. So what is the GLP-1 effect? So the GLP-1 effect is its impact especially on the second phase. All right, first phase, if it's high, of course it's not so good, but even if it's high with your GLP-1, it can still curb and you can somehow still save your insulin from being worse. Okay, so GLP-1 impacts the second phase of insulin secretion. It occurs after food intake and digestion. It prevents high insulin and only releases the appropriate amount of insulin needed after a meal. So I really like this. Okay, it not just only prevents, it releases the appropriate what you need. Okay, not too little, not too much, but exactly what you need, like the thermostat. Okay, and this is key to controlling insulin secretion and sugar control. Okay, so what we have learned in the past, insulin and pancreas is not wrong actually. It is right, but it only talks one part of the story. But in reality, the total body insulin actually relies very heavily on the gut, which is 50 to 70%. Okay, and this GLP-1 is produced in the gut. So the incretin response system is disturbed in diabetics. And one of the reasons why diabetics have this have insulin resistance is because of the gut problem. So it's not a pancreatic problem per se. Okay, it's many a time it could be due to a gut problem first. So I think this speaks volumes about the impact of the gut to our sugar and insulin response. Okay, so gut health is metabolic health. So gut health is not just going to the toilet, it's not just about constipation or digestion, but gut health it's going to determine your sugar level, it's going to determine your insulin level, how insulin sensitive you are, and of course immunity and many other aspects. Okay, so GLP-1 is more than just a single entity. All right, and through this we know that it's a lot more complex than that. It requires an interplay of many components to ensure that we have long-lasting and sustainable amount of GLP-1 in our body. So how it looks like is like this. Okay, we have food. Okay, so food has to go through fermentation. Only you will get your short-chain fatty acid. So short-chain fatty acid is not something you can eat directly. Okay, you need to go through fermentation, and through that it will stimulate this in your gut, which is the L cell, and this is where it produces GLP-1. So we cannot just eat this, okay, unless injection. So your direct form of GLP-1, but natural form of GLP-1 has to go through this process. Okay, so we cannot neglect any component here. So if you can have food, but if you don't have good bacteria, you don't have this. No. Okay, you need to have the right food, enough good bacteria, enough of this also. If not, you also won't produce GLP-1. Okay, so as you can see here, it requires a food ecosystem to give us sufficient amount of GLP-1. All right. So of course, we need to understand how does fuel grade fit into this narrative. Okay, because this is still our core product when it comes to lowering sugar levels, managing our insulin, and how it plays into this whole GLP-1 stimulation. And today, of course, we'll be focusing a lot on this as well to give us a more comprehensive view about why it's not enough to only rely on this, okay, for a GLP-1 ecosystem. Okay, so this is our study. Okay, for those who have joined us for all, you would know that we have done internal studies to show that GLP-1 is increased close to 2 times more if they are on this yerba mate. Okay, so yerba mate is an exception that it does not produce short chain fatty acid. Okay, but yerba mate stimulates the L cell directly here. Okay, it doesn't go through this process, but uni mate straight away stimulate L cell. Okay, so that's why uni mate is special because it doesn't go through the mechanism and it stimulates our L cell directly. Okay, and what does this mean to us? Okay, so the new study proves that okay, it's so good that it's able to increase the genetic level and even the hormonal levels of GLP-1 in the body. All right, so it can show that hey, not only increase the amount of GLP-1, it even influences your body to produce, to have more genetic expression and increase the overall level of GLP-1. So I think this is pretty impressive. All right, and this is a direct path. So because of this, it can significantly increase your internal GLP-1. Okay, so I'm going to touch on the other food aspect that plays about producing short chain fatty acids. Okay, so the food that will go through this route is not any type of food. Okay, it has to be a very specific kind of fiber. All right, so it must be some specific soluble fiber. Okay, not fiber that we eat in the green leafy vegetable is not soluble fiber, by the way. Okay, I need to clarify. Of course, those are really good as well, like your green leafy, all those are really good, but they are insoluble fiber. So those you cannot ferment into short chain fatty acid. So it has to be this few that can expand. And fortunately, and coincidentally also, they are all in our biostat act. Okay, so these are actually very generic things that I find online, but they also are present in our biostat act. So this is very important because it goes through short chain fermentation, short chain fatty acid, and it gives us GLP-1. All right, because once we don't eat enough of this, our GLP-1 levels will drop very drastically. Okay, so this is where a visual is really helpful. Okay, once we eat this BLS, is very important, especially before your 2 largest meals. Okay, because it lowers the first phase of insulin secretion. Okay, this is very important actually, because if you take this compared to this, your starting point is already very different. So if your starting point you can lower that, very likely your second phase will also be lower as well. So this is where biostat S is still very important. Okay, it's not to say that it is less important than uni mate. Okay, because I know that some people have that kind of understanding, but it's actually very important as well. And together, once you lower, it will subsequently also affect the second phase insulin secretion. Okay, so this is where the combination of biostat S that you take during your food and the circulating GLP-1 that you have during your fasting. So in the morning, you take uni mate, you already have the first round of GLP-1 in your body. So after you take biostat S, you continue on that cycle, it reduces and it comes into it as a synergy to collectively reduce the insulin secretion appropriately. Okay, so this is where when the both of them come together, it is a great combination. Okay, with that, we understand how important is fuel grade and how it fits into this narrative perfectly. Okay, to go into the next component, we want to understand, so what do we benefit when our gut is healthy? And what is the impact that it will do to our body? Okay, so referring to this picture that I showed you just now, all right, are you ready for this? Okay, this, by the way, I know this is a lot of things, okay, but this is just a fraction about the benefit you will get in your body when your gut is healthy. All right, can you look at with me for a quick moment? Short chain fatty acid, we spoke about this just now, right? When your gut is healthy, you have a lot. Your body is so much more competent to produce these antioxidant. You have lower inflammatory, lower harmful bacteria. You can have. And this is where the metabolic part comes in. Improve lipid metabolism, healthier gut, reduce inflammation, insulin sensitivity, digestion, vitamin, immune response, body fat deposition. You actually store lesser fat when your gut is healthy, and so much more. Okay, and you look at this, it's an interplay with metabolic components and also immunity. So this is where we have a newfound appreciation to your gut. Okay, and when we can combine both of these components together to feel great, this is where your life will be on another level. Okay, because its benefit is just too too great really. All right. Okay, so this is why I want to talk about the other aspect that we cannot just stop at feel good. Okay, it's great, it's a great starting point, but we cannot stop here. All right, we should in fact continue to think about strategies to further enhance and to build our gut health so that we can enjoy all the benefits that we learned just now. Okay, so what are the major one of the major um, attacks to our gut is this thing called microplastics. Okay, so where do they come from? They come from plastic bottles, all these tires. Really, they are so innocent. Like even things like tire also can affect us. Okay, and they are diverse in shape, composition. Okay, they can enter in our body through many means. Okay, and possible health effects, DNA damage, inflammation, and of course, our gut is a very vulnerable part because it's involved in digestion. The effects of microplastic is so wide ranging that we can shift our gut from this into this. Okay, it can influence a healthy gut to become a diabetic gut. All right, and the diabetic gut, by the way, is very different from a healthy person. So this is not just a difference in numbers in your fasting blood glucose, but if you do a microscopic view and you do a photo taking of a healthy and a diabetic gut, there is a practical difference. Okay, the you know is so much more prone to sickness. All right. So why is microplastic? It is a big thing. Okay, if you don't believe me, you can Google. All right, and it's found everywhere in our brain and even 50% of clogged arteries. Okay, what it does is that it disrupts the garden in your body. It's basically this foreigner's body that interferes with everything. It reprograms your gut in a bad way. Okay, it also interferes with that signaling that we spoke about just now, the feedback mechanism, like it disrupts that, it interferes with proper insulin feedback, so end up your body is not sensitive to insulin or you may have too much insulin. Okay, so it's microplastic also interfere with our hormones. Okay, it interfere with hormone signaling, including all these, which is really very important for general health. Okay, and they are really bad disruptors to our hormones. Okay, so what can we do to ensure that our gut is healthy? So there are a few concepts that we have to understand. So number one, we cannot keep the dirty things in our gut. All right, we need to eliminate them, especially the toxins and the microplastics. Okay, and whatever harmful bacteria that's in our body. Because you cannot have a healthy body with a dirty cloth, that kind of analogy. And we have to maintain a very strong mucus layer so that our gut cells can be strong and it can be very tight. Okay, so that we don't have anything that leaks through our mucus lining. All right, so of course, cleanse 30 is something that we recommend everybody to do if you can. All right, this is still the best because it's the most comprehensive way to do a detox. Okay, but of course, we understand that some people may be a bit hesitant to go through like, oh, we need to eat 3 products for like the 1 month. Okay, some people may be a bit skeptical to enter into this program first, but this is where we have a different way for them to try out our detox. Okay, so for those who are, like not ready for a 3 product thing, although it's great, you can start with aloe vera first. Okay, so aloe vera is good because it addresses the constant influx of toxins microplastic and environmental pollutants that harms the gut. It also protects the gut lining, regular bowel movement that ensures that all the harmful substances are removed and they don't interfere with our GLP-1 production. Okay, this is very important. And aloe vera may contribute to improving our HbA1c sugar level. So it also has this other property that is supportive of our metabolic health, which is sugar and cholesterol. Okay, so you're not just only doing your gut a favor to cleanse, but at the same time, you're also managing and giving the extra layer of support towards your cholesterol and sugar level. Okay, it's adopted and highly successful in other markets and it's very popular worldwide. And these are some other amazing benefits, such as the 75 active compound, detox, digestive benefit, antibacterial, activates white blood cells appropriately, and also lowers sugar, insulin, and these other impacts to our cells. Okay, so for countries who have aloe vera, you are very blessed, all right, very fortunate. So of course, we do know that our Malaysia counterpart a bit sad now. All right, we have a harder time registering products. We are trying to register that in. So at the moment, we don't have that, but live fiber is also very good and very important. Subsequently, we also introduced live fiber for Brunei and Singapore, but because Malaysia don't have aloe vera, so we will go with this direction first. So live fiber is very important and also plays a very unique part in this whole system. It's because it helps to build a strong mucus layer. All right, all these soluble fibers that we have here help to build your gut so that it has a very strong mucus layer. And it's important so that good bacteria can thrive. Okay, your good bacteria cannot be in a gut that's dry and it needs to have really good fiber. Okay, good environment so good they can thrive. And live fiber is also a high quality fiber blend with 20 plus gut and fiber and plant sources that's very nourishing to the gut. Okay, not just only nourish, but it makes your good bacteria really healthy as well. So for those in Singapore, yeah, please feel free to add live fiber in your routine as well. Okay, in fact, if you can even use it with pasta add together during your lunch or dinner. So you can give an even boosted effect towards lowering your sugar as well. All right. So last but not least, this is also a very important component, which is having as many good bacteria as possible, as much. Okay, because these are agents that ferment your soluble fiber. Okay, to produce as much SPSA as possible. Okay, so more good bacteria stimulate more GLP-1. So that the difference between both healthy and diabetic gut is this. Right? Healthy gut has many different bacteria species and we have a good variety. So this is what it means to have microbiome diversity. Okay, for those who have been with us for some time, I think we have spoke about this. All right, but I guess we don't really understand, what does it mean to have microbiome diversity, blah, blah, blah. But now when you're on this, it just gives you a much more clearer view. Oh, yeah, it's like if I have a garden at home, the more plants I have, the prettier my garden will be, right? The more variety there is in my garden. So the same in your body, the different type of bacteria you have, the more bacteria strains, the better it will be. Okay, it will start to boost many other functions in your body. Okay, and for diabetic gut, they have very few bacteria types. Okay, because of the food that they eat and something not quite right with their bacterial profile. They only have maybe a healthy person that has 10 and they have 5. Okay, and those bacteria, not just only that, are harmful bacteria that releases toxins that can harm your gut. So not just only that they make you sick. Okay, the bacteria in the gut can make you sick. Alright, so like I said, you have a lot of good bacteria that can help you to produce even more short-chain fatty acid. By diabetic gut, highly inflammatory. Okay, it's very favorable to eat your bad bacteria. So what does bad bacteria do? Obviously, it harms your gut, right? It secretes toxins. It inhibits, it interferes with very important processes that ensures that your body is healthy. Okay, and can do the proper insulin feedback. So a healthy gut has high insulin sensitivity. It's more efficient to take up glucose in your body, and it feeds back to your pancreas in a very regular and proper manner as well. But for a diabetic gut because of how your bad bacteria has already influenced that, interface with that process. Your cells have become resistant, causing high blood sugar. Okay, so for those, if your gut is healthy, very likely you will also have proper GLP-1 and insulin response as well. And this just, hit the entire cycle of your sugar level. So for those who are diabetic, very likely you have impaired GLP-1 and insulin resistance. Okay, so through this, we can see the importance of having good bacteria. Okay, it's not just something for immunity, but it is so much more than that. Okay, so specific strains like bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, they are proven to be beneficial for metabolic health, such as improving insulin sensitivity, lower blood sugar, and reduce inflammation. So we're happy to say that all these strains are in our probiotic range, okay, for both Malaysia and Singapore variant. Okay, and I'm in the midst of confirming certain facts with the scientists. But once I have these facts, it will make our product even more super. Okay, wait for my next section. Okay, all right. So through this, we have learned that the gut is so important. All right, it's more than just, oh, you have a bad day in the toilet, you are bloating. Okay, but it is a whole entity. Okay, and it really blows your mind when you talk about metabolic health. Okay, it plays, in fact, so intricate towards this whole process. Okay, it's an ecosystem that requires so many entities to ensure that you have lasting GLP-1 levels in your body. So for us to have that, you need to have all these components so that you have good GLP-1 circulating in the system. Okay, so for us, okay, if you have already been on few grade, that's important and that is your core, all right, to give us, good metabolic health. Okay, but for us to sustain that and to have even more lasting effect of GLP-1, this is where our gut plays a very, very, very important role. Okay, I can't stress this enough, especially with the research that I've done. It just dawned on me that, that's why people have a lot of unexplained situations that's happening to them. Okay, why some people may have diabetes, and even though they are living quite a relatively healthy lifestyle, but why some people have some unexplained things happen to them? It could really be because of the gut, and you can see how fast our gut changes. With stress, in 1 hour, your gut change. With poor sleep, your gut change. Don't eat enough, your gut also will change. Correct? So it's a very fragile environment, and it requires a lot of care. So this is why I think that putting emphasis in the gut is really, really important. Okay, and you can always start with some basic. I think detox, like aloe vera is really good. But if you don't, okay, having another thing like live fiber and your good bacteria especially, okay, these are things that would really support you, especially if you're on any medication or your body is you're sick. Okay, you have to take even more of this good bacteria because they'll be very useful to strengthen your body's defense mechanism, right? So with this, I'm very happy to usher everyone into a new era that we are stepping into a new era of metabolic health. Okay, and this is just the beginning. All right, I hope you can, it's really just the beginning. And there's so much talk about the gut really. Gut with anti-aging, gut with mental health, gut with diseases, okay? And there's a lot more that you will unravel as the coming months, you know, happen, right? So, yep, I hope that you'll be also excited alongside with me. And there's a lot more to untap about the potential about our gut and how if we really uh, tap into it appropriately, we can uh, enjoy its full benefit. Okay, so that's the end of today's presentation. Oh no, okay, I don't know what I've done. Okay, wait, I have to stop sharing. Okay, well, this one is just went infinity, right? Okay, so now we are open to Q&A. Okay, if there's any questions you want to ask me about bacteria, about probiotics, prebiotics, okay, you can feel free to ask me that. Okay, so looks like everyone is transitioning well in Google Meet. Okay, initially we were afraid, thought that, oh, if you are changing platform, how would that affect people joining. Okay, so right, yeah, question time. Yes, yeah, it's working. I can see your chat. Okay, so Mr. Kennedy has a question. Okay, yeah, yeah. Please feel free to ask. Okay, Samwing Law, how to measure our gut health? So there's many ways to measure. Some of them, of course, one of the easiest and not so invasive way will be through your food. Okay, then they will take that and send to the lab. If you really want to measure and to see what is, yeah, you can actually do a mapping of your gut health through the fecal kind of procedure. And as you know, there's such thing as fecal transplant, right? It's been a thing for a while. So people are looking into fecal transplant actually, not just only on metabolically, but even disease. If you can adopt like a healthier person's gut into a person who don't have, who's unhealthy, if you were to implant some of that fecal transplant. I honestly don't know how it works, but okay, apparently if you put that in your gut, then their body will also reproduce the same kind of microbiome DNA in their gut through the fecal. So yeah, there's another area altogether, but yeah, I think the poop is one of the more non-invasive way. And I guess secondly, there will be things like scope, or they can scrape the cell off your gut. That would be one way as well. Okay, how do you know when you need to stop the probiotic? What kind of assessment need to be done? To be honest, you should not stop probiotic. Okay, good bacteria should be taken every day. Maybe you want to know how much. Actually, good bacteria for us, they say safe would be 20 to 30 billion a day. Okay, don't take more than that. Because some people, if they take more than that, they may have stuff like, indigestion or diarrhea and stuff like that. So ours is kept at quite a safe level. All right, so for us, you can take for maintenance, you can take one or two. But if you're sick, you can take 3 to 4. Okay, it's actually within that safe range. So I would say that actually, if you really don't want to take so many things, you can just at least have one. Because our bacteria change like every day. And good bacteria can lifespan very short one. Like in one day die. So you have to take the good bacteria every day, actually. So I would encourage you not to stop unless you are intolerant. Okay, unfortunately our formulation we do have milk or soy. So for those who are lactose intolerant, maybe, they may have other times. But if you're not too serious, you can just take half a sachet and then something. Like assessment to be done. Just take at least once a day. Okay, when will the gut pack be available in Malaysia? So no news about that yet because aloe vera has not we haven't seen through yet. So we have already done submission, but it's still pending. Okay, Malaysia, especially this being a supplement product, traditional supplement will take about 2 years, 3 years. So of course we are hoping that it's not going to take so long, but at the moment it's still in progress. Okay, so at the moment I think yeah, if you're in Singapore, you can just get one from there. Right? Okay, as I understand, clearing out microplastic with aloe vera is about removing endocrine disrupting chemicals. Did I get that correct? While EDC disrupts L cell for GLP-1 production, EDC also disrupts the cell level insulin receptor. If you clear out the insulin receptor, we actually reverse insulin increase. With the idea, wouldn't aloe vera be the start of insulin sensitivity? Would it be possible to reverse insulin in this way? Okay, the mechanism in which how it does is that about clearing a mycotoxin is one of those things. So whether um, it can go to the insulin receptor level is something that we get to find out. Okay, of course, interfere with the whole signaling is because of the presence of those microplastics, right? So you can clear that. But how does aloe vera impact that whole can affect even the molecular structure of the insulin receptor? Okay, this one I can't answer because there really isn't any study about that yet. Okay, so of course, reversing insulin resistance, this one is still something that is a rather bold claim. All right, so I think we cannot say that yet until we find, certain things that can do that. So of course, I do know that right now, it's a huge thing now in China. Already have some of these studies in place, and how they would want to potentially reverse insulin resistance. So yeah, this is something that can potentially be, but whether aloe vera can lead to the kind impact, it's still something that we get to make. But of course, aloe vera does help actually to improve insulin sensitivity. It's because of the herb. Right. So what mechanism is exactly, I'm not very sure. Okay, but there are some studies that show that human studies, when they take aloe vera, their sugar level actually come down and their cholesterol also. Okay, so nature tea best prepared with probiotic or live fiber best with probiotic. Actually, you shouldn't take nature tea with probiotic together. You should be separate. Okay, probiotic always take in the morning, um, empty stomach. That's the best way to take it. And aloe vera, all this you take at night. Okay, because if you take together with probiotic, likely some of them will go out. So of course, you still have to take the probiotic, but in the morning. So when it comes to night time, it's a good time to flush out. Okay. Is there any difference in its effectiveness if probiotic works to mix with other obesity products for consumption? I think best is to still take probiotic directly to the mouth, I think. Because our micro encapsulation is best if, I mean, of course, you can still mix with the shake and thing. A lot of people do that as well. But maybe it's a new thing. I personally think that if all the bacteria can go straight into your gut first, without having other things to mix along with it, probably it will arrive to your gut a lot faster that way. Then after that, you can mix with other things. So I think that would be, it's up to you really. But I do know people do mix that together, so no harm. But I'm more kiasu lah. I want my group bacteria going faster. So that's my thing. Okay. So thank you, Kelly and Lily. Okay. So thank you everyone for your questions. As always, I enjoy answering them. So please feel free to ask anything if you have any more questions in the future. All right. So please stay tuned to next month. Okay, we're going to have a really exciting series in store. So I hope that you will also catch up for that. Oh, Kelly has a follow up. Uh, Sorry, can I summarize the answer for my question? Can we say that aloe vera reduces blood-borne toxic load? Okay, is including microplastic emission? Okay, creating a lower interference in the metabolism. Okay, while its effect on cellular isn't fully conclusive yet, its role in system-wide clarity makes it a vital precursor to insulin sensitivity. Mm. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. So see you next month. All right, and enjoy and have a good night. Okay. Thank you.